reverse circle cast is one of the most difficult casts to accomplish with this two-handed rod. But we're going to break down those movements individually to show you how simple it can be. The first movement is lifting the line tension off the water in a straight vertical rise of about 45 degrees. At the same time, we're going to roll it out towards center river and up. The motion of that rod tip is actually motioning out toward the center river, up and out towards center river in a counterclockwise position. Just remember, we've got to roll the line out towards center river. If I move the rod the wrong direction, it would actually be rolling the line toward the bank. So always conceptualize this cast of moving the line out in the direction of the cast. I'm bringing the rod tip up slowly to about 45, and with a lot of tip, I'm just rolling it out into a circle in front of me. Now we can sweep the line behind us to load it and make the cast. Let's break down those motions individually. The line's tight on the water. We're breaking line tension by lifting up the rod just a little bit and rolling it upstream and towards center river. And that motion is rolling the tip towards center river and then coming back underneath. This gives us the slack line we need to form that D loop behind us to load the rod, and we can make the cast easily. Once I roll that cast out towards center river, the rod tip stays on the same 45-degree angle parallel plane. As it sweeps around behind me, that rod tip stays always on the same plane all the way around. My hands are out in front of me as in the right-handed position. We get a nice, beautiful load. Now, the nice thing about the right-handed caster switching over his left shoulder is it really does a couple of things. It prevents the rod from coming back too far when he begins to load it. This is a common mistake for left-handed casters. At this point, they drop that rod tip back here by opening up the wrist area right here, and then the cast goes to heck, and there's no way we can make it. The right-handed caster will oftentimes come and say, "John, I don't know what you mean about the hardest cast. That's the simplest cast I've ever made." And the reason is once they load it, they roll it out towards center river, they come around right here. They can't bring the rod back any further. It stops near the vertical plane. At that point, you get the maximum load off the rod tip in midsection, and the forward cast is simple. Raise the rod slowly, 45 degrees, roll it out and up. The slack line is taken up by the load of the rod, and a beautiful cast. Raise the rod slowly, 45 degrees, roll it out. Bring it off your upstream shoulder, make the cast. Bring the rod tip up slowly, roll it out towards center river position. Sweep the rod, pause, stroke. Pausing allows that line to come in behind the rod tip, load the rod up, and it makes the forward stroke easy. My eyes are always looking at the line as I'm sweeping it behind me, and as that little rooster tail comes off the line, as soon as it comes down the line, right to the line leader connection, that's where we're going to make our forward casting stroke. We'll lift the rod tip up slowly, roll it out towards center river, sweeping the rod behind me, rooster tail, it stops, and now I get a beautiful load on the rod and a beautiful cast. This time I want you to look at the rooster tail, and as we create the D loop behind the rod tip, watch that rooster tail as it climbs down the line and meets the line leader junction. That's when we fire the forward cast. Slowly up, out towards center river, rooster tail right there. Perfect load. I'm visually watching that rooster tail every time I make my cast. That's the only indication I have to know when it's time to make the forward cast. On a real long cast, that rooster tail is going to take a little longer, and on a real short cast, that rooster tail quickly runs down to that line leader junction. Again, lift the rod tip slowly. Roll it out upstream towards center river. Sweep the rod, rooster tail. Beautiful forward cast. That's a very quick movement. That rooster tail climbs down that line leader junction. The rod tip That rooster tail climbs down that line leader junction. That rod tip is in the forward casting position, and as soon as it meets that line leader junction, we make the forward cast. A couple things that are going to plague the angler in this cast is going to be if they roll it too far upstream and they don't bring enough slack line back to them with the full circle, when they come around to form the D loop, we've got an L shape on the water. That L shape is going to create a lot of line stick, and we're not going to be able to make the cast. Let me demonstrate that. I've rolled it too far upstream and not enough distance out, and now when I form my D loop, I've got this big L shape on the water with the leader and the fly quite a ways upstream from me. There's no way I can recover this cast. As I begin to load the rod and I roll it out, there's a lot of line stick there. We're going to lose the energy of the line traveling down in that elliptical shape, and it's going to land in a big heap on the water. So it's important that I complete that circle all the way around. That's why they call it the circle cast. We're going to lift it up, slowly roll it up and out towards center river, and now as I complete that D loop, the line is in perfect straight formation, ready to make the forward cast. We lift the rod tip up slowly, circle towards center stream and slightly up, and as when I make that complete circle right here, the rod tip is in exactly the right position to sweep around, form the D loop, and fire out the cast. So it's important, the same as in the other Spey cast that we talked about, that once the setup is made, the rod tip stays on that continual plane. It doesn't dip down. Let me show you another ailment to the reverse circle cast. The angler will pick it up, roll it out, and right here he dips the rod down like this. The line lands on the water behind us. We lose that nice D loop, and there's no way we can recover. So it's absolutely important we maintain a couple of the fundamental principles of maintaining that rod tip on a parallel plane. Roll it towards center river, parallel plane, good load, beautiful cast, and it's a real easy cast to make. And remember, it's important to keep that tight arm hand position out in front of the angler. We don't want to lift that rod tip way up. Let's illustrate that. We'll make the circle up and out towards center river. If we bring our hands too far up, the only way I've got to go is down, and there's no way. We're just going to drive that cast down onto the water. What we want to do is keep that rod tip, as we talked about before, in that parallel plane. Circle out towards center stream, parallel plane, nice big beautiful loop behind us, and a nice forward delivery. Now we've got a pretty good wind. I love these conditions for teaching these classes because now I'm going to have to vary the cast into this wind. If I were to stop the rod tip a little bit high on my forward stroke, right here, you can see that that wind is just going to take the loop and collapse it, and we're going to lose about 20% of our cast. I've got to drive the rod tip down a little bit further when I'm casting into a headwind. So we'll go ahead, slow lift, circle up and out, bring it right around my upstream shoulder, and I'm driving that cast out. I'm actually stopping the rod tip right about there, which is about 9:30. On a normal cast, if we didn't have any wind, I'd stop the rod tip about right there, which is around 10 o'clock or 10:30. Stance plays an important role, and I'm still casting with my right shoulder. Even though I'm swinging it over my left, I'm still a right-handed caster. So I'm going to make sure that my power, as we talked about before, is still coming down along my left leg. The left leg should be out. You should get comfortable with that because that's where the energy of the cast is going to be driven down when I come forward, right there on my left leg. And it just delivers the energy from the rod tip down my body, down to my leg, and finishes it off with maximum power. A lot of times, we don't have control on what our stance is going to be. And you can make this cast virtually anywhere. Big boulders here, boulders there. I'm happy I can just stand up in some of the water that we fish. So I'm still going to make my cast right leg out, and it doesn't really vary it all that much.